Mr. Average Hockey Fan here, and today I would like to talk about ways Montreal could go from being what I think is a playoff team to a legit contender. If Marc Bergevin really wanted to go for it, he does have the pieces to do it. Don't care what anybody says, and I'm going to tell you how. He'd have to trade some of those prospects, and picks would have to go too. I think Montreal's first round pick this year is going to be either 18th or higher, and in my opinion, after 17 or 18, it's a big drop off in potential of what they're going to be, their numbers and all that stuff. This year isn't a super strong draft past the top 10, and analysts and experts have been saying that all year. They need to keep Price rested all year. They can't have him starting 25 out of these last 30 games. Yes, he probably wants to get his totals up. He wants to get wins. He could be going for the Vezina the way he's playing. It's far from impossible, but keep Price rested for a strong playoff push. Don't let him re-aggravate that groin. Don't let him play himself out so when he gets to the playoffs, he's so beat from facing so many shots, because Montreal is going to have their hands full with shots unless they upgrade the defense like I'm going to suggest right now. There's a couple things I think they could do. There's two defensemen that they could go after for sure in my mind. And one of them is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Because I've been hearing forever that Oliver Ekman-Larsson, trade rumors around him forever. I got a feeling Arizona isn't going to be keeping him around for long. And he's a really good young defenseman. He's a left-hand shot. Instantly slot him in with Weber. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Shea Weber as your top two. That instantly makes your team one of the best defensive teams, especially in the East for sure. They're right up there with Tampa and Boston and Toronto instantly. Toronto got Jake Muzzin and Morgan Rielly as their top two. So that's why I'm saying right up there with Toronto. Right up there, the top two pairings, they would be one of the top five, top two pairings in the league, in my opinion, or in the East for sure. How they would have to go about getting Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who I believe is a rental this year. He might have a year left on his contract, but I don't think he got extended in Arizona. I think he's a rental this year. You'd have to trade your first round pick, which would be outside the top 18, I think, or just above the top 15. I don't think you'd be getting a superstar player unless you find a gem or a player anywhere near as good as Oliver Ekman-Larsson out of that pick. And you'd have to trade a good young defenseman like Victor Mete, because Arizona isn't going to give up their top young defenseman, great player like that, for nobody. You'd have to trade Victor Mete or Noah Jolson, or maybe even both, or possibly a good young defensive prospect like Josh Brooks. You would have to, because for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, it's going to cost you, but he would instantly make your team way better. He would upgrade a decor from like a pretty good decor, solid maybe top 10 decor in the East, to top 5, top 6 in the league, with him and Weber going. And Weber has been looking for a player like that to play with in Montreal forever. And I guarantee you, Shea Weber and his game would get 10 times better playing together. They would be a great fit. And Shea Weber is a great mentor. Look how good Roman Josi is. Look how good Mete is playing with him. Look how good he made Kulak look. Shea Weber is a great player, and a great mentor, a great leader. He makes other players around him better. Another guy who I think would be a good second pairing guy to put with Jeff Petrie to make our decor sick. In my opinion, it would be the best in the East with this guy. Them in Tampa, and I think it would even be better than Tampa. With four of those, that top four is better than Hedman and Sergachev. Don't care what anybody says. Darnell Nurse, you would have to trade at least your second round pick, a good young player, or a good solid vet like Jordy Ben. Edmonton is a desperate team, and they're known for making bad deals. So I could see you stealing Darnell Nurse for a second round pick, a fifth round pick, and Jordy Ben. You'd have to give him 2 or 3 picks, like not high picks. You're not giving your first overall pick for Darnell Nurse unless it's just a pick, then maybe. But I got a feeling you could find just as good a defenseman as Darnell Nurse over time with that pick. So your second round pick, Noah Jolson and Jordy Ben, or your second round pick and maybe Josh, you can't trade Josh Brooks from your second round pick and Noah Jolson or Jordy Ben. That would be a good way to go about getting Darnell Nurse, and I have a feeling Edmonton would do that. So that would make your top 4: Shea Weber, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Jeff Petrie, Darnell Nurse, along with, say, on the second line, Jordy Ben and Brett Kulak, something like that, if Jordy's still around. So I got a feeling Jordy's going this year. I think he's going to get traded at the deadline. A lot of Habs fans do like him. He's been playing a lot better, but he's playing really good now. This is some of the best hockey he's played in years, so now would be the time to trade a guy if you are going to trade him. But I like Jordy Ben personally. I'm just saying you could probably get a good piece for him. And another guy, this would instantly, if you had those guys I said, and you added this guy to your team, I instantly think that makes Montreal a contender. instantly. Like with this guy, this instantly makes him a contender. With the other guys, I said Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Darnell Nurse. Imagine add Matt Duchene. Imagine adding Matt Duchene to that lineup. Matt Duchene is somebody Ottawa's probably going to have to get rid of. I don't think he's going to re-sign in Ottawa. There's way too much controversy there. They haven't been a winning team since he's been there. He left Colorado for Ottawa because he wanted to get out of a team that had a horrible season, the worst season in StatsCast era, and go to what he thought was a cup contender or would be a cup contender because they were one goal away from the Stanley Cup final the previous year, and he went to Ottawa, and they instantly tanked when he got there. It had nothing to do with Matt Duchene. His play was a little bit faulty the first 20 games, but he's been great since he's been in Ottawa. It's just the overall team. They made a lot of bad moves. There was a really negative attitude in Ottawa. Ottawa was like Montreal times 5 even. Like they had a really bad year last year, and it's just continued on and on. They have a couple good prospects. This year has been a bit better than last year. Their attitude seems to be better. It's not all negative in Ottawa, but I don't think Matt Duchene wants to stay there, and I think he's a guy Montreal could go out and steal. They could go out and get for sure. You're not going to get him for cheap. You're going to have to give up a good prospect. And I think the prospect I would want, I think he's a similar player to Matt Duchene. He's a little bit smaller, but he is a similar player to Matt Duchene. Not as good of a shot. Clearly nowhere near as proven. He hasn't even played in the NHL yet. Matt Duchene is a beast in the NHL. One of the fastest players in the league. Excellent hands. Great player. Would be an excellent fit in Montreal. But you'd have to give up Suzuki, a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and at least Josh Brooks. Like, for Matt Duchene, you're not going to get nothing cheap. I think you could get him for Suzuki a 3rd and a 4th, but Ottawa would probably be greedy because they know that they want Matt Duchene. And if there was any chance of him re-signing in Ottawa, teams are going to be really hungry for him and going to be offering a lot to get him. So, but if you paid this for him, it makes your team an instant contender. He's a guy that I think would re-sign in Montreal because he would be a great fit in Montreal. Put him in between Domi and Drouin. Matt Duchene, Max Domi, and Jonathan Drouin. Imagine that line. Put Matt Duchene in the center, move Domi to the wing where he truly belongs, even though he is a good center. It instantly makes your team a contender. Your 4 centers would be Matt Duchene, number 1 center, Philip Deneau, number 2 center, Spiri Kotkaniemi, number 3 center, and say Matthew Pekka or Michael Chaput as your number 4 center. That would make your team an instant contender along with that defense core I said, and Carey Price well rested for the whole year. For the next 30 games. I mean, he's been pretty well rested the year, too. So we don't re-aggravate anything. He's had this big all-star break. I think give Price as much rest as you can, because if you give him the rest, he will pay you back in the playoffs. I know he will. A well-rested, hungry Carey Price with a good team like that in front of him, you are a legit contender. Toronto fans could deny it. Boston fans could deny it. People could say anything they want, but your top core is Philip Deneau, Brendan Gallagher, Thomas Tatar is your first line. Your second line would be Max Domi, Matt Duchene, Jonathan Drouin. That is a great second line. Your third line would be Yoel Armia, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and Arturi Lehkonen. The all-finish great line. All they do is finish all day. Your fourth line would be Nicolas Deslauriers, Charles Hudon, and Matthew Pekka or Michael Chaput. Those are solid contending top 4 right there. Top 4 lines. Great 4 lines right there. The best 4 lines Montreal would have had in 20 years, in my opinion. And then your D-core, don't even get me started on D-core if they got these players, like I said. You would have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, one of the best young players in the league, a bomb of a shot, very good hockey IQ, fast player, playing with a great mentor, bomb of a shot, one of the best defensive players in the league, the best hockey IQ in the league, in my opinion, and just a great shutdown defenseman who clears the front of the net for all goalies and is a great mentor, would make Oliver Ekman-Larsson 10 times better of a player, Shea Weber. And your second pairing would be Darnell Nurse, Jeff Petrie, and you got Jordy Ben in the back with Kulak. Oh my God, that is a great, just Jordy Ben and Kulak as your bottom pairing. That's where Jordy Ben should be, and he's a great fit as a bottom pairing, playing some of the best hockey he has of his life. That would be amazing. And then your goaltender is Carey Price. I don't need to say a backup because the backup isn't going to see a game in the playoffs. Your goaltender is Carey Price. Keep him nice and fresh. Only played 15 games of the last 30. Had a 10-game stretch, 10-game break after the All-Star game. He would be hungry. He would earn that $10.5 million. And if the Habs had that team, they're beating every team in the East except maybe Tampa. If the Habs had that team, they would run through Toronto, and that's how Montreal would become a contender, in my opinion. If you think there's better moves they can make, I've heard people say they want us to go after Artemi Panarin and all that. I don't think a selfish player like that, a guy that doesn't want to be in the hockey market he's in and isn't happy with the money he's making, and he just seems to be an individual type player, would be a good fit in Montreal. I think Matt Duchene would be a good fit. He was a leader in Colorado. Despite all the negativity in Ottawa, he's still a respected player. He's still a leader on the ice, and I think he would be a great fit in Montreal. A young defenseman like Albrecht Molas would be mentored like Shea Weber, and a great young defenseman like Darnell Brook, who came from Edmonton like Jeff Petrie, to add a little bit of upgrade to Petrie's game. And Petrie's been great, so he would add to Darnell Nurse's game. I think we could do it. And really, realistically, we'd just be giving up all of our picks for this year pretty much, and Josh Brooks and Nick Suzuki. A lot to pay. You'd have to know that you're going to extend these players. At least you'd have to know for sure you're going to extend Duchene. But this is how Montreal could become a contender. And this is what I would do if I was Marc Bergevin and I had it dead set in my mind I was going for a cup this year. Like, my team isn't the bottom like everybody said. They're a legit playoff team. So you know what? Instead of just making a legit playoff team, go all the way and make them a contender this year. If I was Marc Bergevin and I had it dead set in my head, those are the moves I would be wanting to make. That's just me, your average hockey fan, your armchair GM today. Hope you liked the video, guys. Like and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the page. Thanks for viewing it. Hope you liked my video. Leave a comment. Have a great day. Mr. Average Hockey Fan, over and out.